Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. So today I am going to be remaking my soft face hammer. So here I'm going to be showing you the first part of this billet here. The slot's going to be roughly 1 inch long and it's in the center of this piece of bar stock here. So just some general dimensions here before we get going. And those are all in inches from my friends across the pond. So you'll have to do your own conversions there. I decided to drill a hole at each end of the cut for this particular thing. This is not necessary, but it's a great way of when you have a lot of material to remove on a long side like this is, where your billet is taller than what it is wide, so in other words not square. It's a great way of being able to center up the amount of material you're trying to move without letting the punch go from one side to the other. So there's the first hit. I have my punch lubricated with a little bit of wax and vegetable oil. And I'm going to make mention here in a minute about my big hammer that I'm using here. This is literally the only time that you will see me use a really large hammer by myself. And this is the only time that I find it acceptable to do so. But when you have bad wrists, that's what happens. I do not understand how guys can do this every day or think they'll do it every day and not end up with wrist or elbow problems. And in the next slide, I switched hammers anyhow. But this hammer here is an 8-pound sledgehammer. Way too heavy. The hammer I switched to is a 3-pound. And then this is going to drive out my plug. And you can see, even though it being a 3-pound hammer, it can still move that drift pretty darn quickly when swung correctly. I should have used this hammer when punching. It would have been easier. Also, another thing to notate here, having a properly fitting pair of tongs for doing this type of work before you start will greatly aid in being able to punch and drift a hammerhead like this. Now this drift is just a mild steel drift, so you can see it kind of red there. That doesn't matter. It's mild steel. It's not ruining any temper or anything like that. And this mild steel drift is held up very well over about 2 years of abuse. Now that's not everyday use, but it's held up pretty darn good. There goes the drift. And just like that, we've started to drift out our hole. Now, this being a mild steel hammer meant just to be used with punching work and things like that. There's a lot of things you won't see me be doing in this type of video here. And mainly I'm just trying to enlarge this hole so this way my handle fits nice and evenly. But anytime that you're drifting a hole through a hammerhead like this, of any sort, you want to work it evenly from both sides. That way it's crowned in the center of the hammer. And it is, slightly tapering out to the outside edges of the hole. This allows the hammer handle to wedge in the hammerhead itself. And once again, a nice pair of tongs meant for this purpose would be amazing. instead of what I'm doing here, which is really fooling around too much with the tongs and not getting the work done. Nice and centered. Good swell out both sides. We're going to give it a good heavy brushing. Now that it's slowly dipping below a scaling heat, this is a good point to use a butcher block brush to brush off some scale. I'm not going to go too pretty with this hammer, like I've stated. It's just meant to hit top tools like punches and things of that nature, considering I harden all my punches and chisels on both ends. We'll get into that on another video. So anyways, there you go. Nice and clean, straight through. This is going to be a good looking hammer. Now, I am by no means a maker of hammers of all sorts and things of that nature. You know, I can make my own hammers to my own dimensions and my wants. There are obviously a lot better smiths out there at making hammers than me. And now we're just going to go ahead and fit the hammer handle in. This is a 16 out. This is like a 16-inch ball peen hammer handle. We're just going to drive it in nice and tight. In this particular case, we're not going to worry about the curly cues. And yeah, essentially we've made a lump of iron on a stick. Can't beat that. Next part, let's make the wedge. The wedge is being made from a piece of 1 inch by 1/4 inch thick mild steel. And I'm just going to draw out a length and thin it down on a taper of approximately about an inch, inch and a half before I cut it off. So nothing real special about this. It doesn't even have to look pretty there, ladies and gents. Because if you get the surface completely smooth and clean, it won't grip well in the wood anyhow. It'll just have a tendency to slip back out. So it's okay to leave the finish a little rougher. And then we're going to make it extra rough here in just a second, using the nice crisp edge of my anvil. I am going to put some little groove marks in it. And that should be right about now. There we go. Just moving it progressively, trying to strike the piece and not the anvil. And we're just leaving some lines all the way across it. Now, I've seen guys take and create barbs and all sorts of other things. I don't feel that those are necessary. Pretty much. I mean, you can use a wooden wedge, and if wooden wedges were acceptable before having barbed wedges with steel, I think it's safe to say that it's acceptable to use barbless here on your metal wedge. Now I'm just cleaning it up. And then let's cut her off. So cutting off, nothing special to it. You guys seen this trick a million times. And as you can tell, I'm using my old soft face hammer that's really mushroomed out, that one of the older gentlemen from my blacksmithing club got on to me about. And so I hope this will make him happy. You know who you are. He's also a subscriber of the channel, so I get a chuckle out of that. There you go. You got your way. So we'll let that wedge cool down. And yeah, pretty much. I sawed a little bit of the excess off. I like to leave a little excess handle sticking out of the top of the hammer. I find it just makes a tighter fit, gives it extra wedging pressure from the top. And then I'm just bumping the hammer handle off the upset block on the anvil in order to make sure that the hammer head itself does not try to travel up. Because if you hammer on it like this and you have the hammer handle sitting just straight down, the head will have a tendency to travel in the direction of where your hammer blows are coming from. Consequently, if you flip the hammer handle upside down and drive it from the bottom, it drives the head up deeper onto the hammer handle itself. But there you have it. Yep. And there you are. A lump of steel on the end of a big stick. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. And like always, God bless you, and we will catch you on the next one.